good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Let's welcome Lionel, who will be our presenter today. Lionel, please take over.
Thank you so much, Elisa. Hi, everyone. I hope you guys had a good lunch. I certainly did not, because usually before a talk like this, I kind of, even though I did it a couple of times, but it's always a little bit of butterflies everywhere. So I usually don't eat a lot. So my only thing to look forward to now is after this, I can get myself a good meal. Okay, so I hope every one of you is comfortable. We're going to start. As all of you, I do not know how many of you have attended my lovely colleague Adrian's first webinar, where he talks about the Fantastic Four, where one of the key player is actually the resume. So the resume is the one that is shall we say, to kickstart your job search process. So, which is why today we're going to touch a little bit deep dive into resume writing, and we look at some of the tips that's coming in the early part of 2022, and so that you guys could craft together a resume that could get you interviews. All right. So remember, a resume doesn't get you the job; it gets you the interview, right? So a little bit about ourselves for those of you who do not know. Basically, IBF Careers Connect started about 3 years plus ago. So the objective, obviously, is to help job seekers in the financial industry. So we conduct things like coaching, one-to-one coaching, and we conduct webinars or workshops such as this one. And during the pre-COVID time, there'll be more events that we do, face-to-face events, like networking events and things like that. But because of COVID, events has sort of slowed down. Hopefully, with the Omicron wave die down soon, do not know when, because it's already been 2 years since we are in this pandemic, we can organize more events for people to join. So career advisory is the main part of our role, but we also partner with other companies, as we said, to do recruitment drives or networking events. And of course, we will try to what we call the professional conversion program, attach and train and place and train program. And then last but not least, we provide support. Unfortunately, retrenchment is something that happens nowadays. So we also provide support for people that has been caught in a restructure. So we will help them by doing change management workshop, right? We also may conduct town hall meeting or even one-to-one meeting. And most important, to do a job search skill workshop so that it will help them quickly find another employment after being retrenched. So that's something in a nutshell of what we do, besides what you see us doing right now during this webinar. Okay. So many of us says that, okay, is it another resume writing thing? So what can I get out of it? But just remember, the first step, as we said, of getting hired is you need to impress the hiring manager. And if you're not going in by the networking route, the only way that the hiring manager so-called have a first contact with you is the resume. So resume has a lot of things like different format, different content, different functionality. Yeah, but these are only some of the factors that you must consider when doing this. So as we said, everybody can write a resume, but not everybody can do it well. And to know whether you did it well is, when you send your resume out, how many interviews are you getting? Right? Because we have come across people that come to us and say, hey, I sent 100 resume out, but I don't get any interview. So if you, at the end of this session, we will flash the email address for you to contact us. Then we can arrange a one-to-one coaching session to maybe dive deep into your resume to find out, why is it that you're not getting any response. All right. So remember that 40% of the hiring manager only spend 4 to 8 seconds reviewing your resume. So it's very, very crucial that your resume must do it right so that you could capture their imagination fast. Okay, so you need a very strong, eye-catching resume, right? To capture the keyword is to capture your relevant skills and work experience, right? So I want to digress a little bit because sometimes we receive resume that is very, very long, many pages. But just remember, as you can see, they only spend 4 to 8 seconds in reviewing your resume. So it's more of quality of your resume rather than the quantity of your resume. So in today's session, we'll look at the current trend in resume writing, and then we hope that this will help you craft resume that can get you more interviews, thereby leading you to your dream jobs. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the steps to writing a winning resume. So we'll talk about what are the preparation work before you start. We'll talk about this thing called the ATS. We will talk about some of the resume format, and then we'll deep dive into one particular format where we'll talk about what to put in the headlines, what to put in your career summary, what to put in under your skills, what to put under work experience and achievements. Last but not least, your education and certification. So, and then we'll touch a little bit on different type of resume for different situations that some of you might be going through right now. Okay, and we close off with a quick summary on what we covered today. So this is what I'm going to take you through today. So before we start, these are the statistics that you are facing when you are actually applying for a job. You realize that on average, you're fighting with 249 people, right? Because in one job opening, usually you receive about 250 resume. And out of these, only 4 to 6 will be interviewed, and only 1 will get the job offer. So look at that. The odds are really, really stacked against if you don't have a good resume, right? So as we said, it takes 4 to 8 seconds. So some people say it's 6 seconds on average to scan a resume. And like it or not, 87% of the recruiters, after looking at your resume, will check your LinkedIn profile. So besides your resume, you need preparation. Your LinkedIn profile also need to be up to date. And due to time, I cannot spend too much time on your LinkedIn profile. But as we said, if you write to us to ask to see a career coach, one of the things that we can help you is to look at your LinkedIn profile and help you to make it more visible so that recruiters finds it easier to look for you, right? So 65% of these recruiters or hiring managers prefer candidates have relevant work experience. So which is very important in your resume. We can't key enough that you need to put in relevant work experience. You may have a lot of experience in doing a lot of things, but they are not interested. They're only interested in things that are relevant to what you're going to do for the company. So what are the most common resume mistakes that you're not getting any, whenever you write and you're not getting any response? You will be surprised, 77% of people do not use spell check or do not use some form of app to check their resume for typos or for grammatical errors. Like 75% people, believe it or not, lie on their resume, which is why they always check your LinkedIn profile, or they may even check your references, right? 35% of people has very unprofessional email address. I've come across a few during my coaching. It can be very, very rude or just doesn't make any sense. So it doesn't help. Sometimes when you have a very unprofessional email address, that puts off the hiring manager, right? And some of them do not have quantifiable results, right? So they just say, I'm good in this, I'm the best in that, but they don't write down how good am I or how successful I am. There's no quantifiable results, right? Another reason people has very, very long stories, long paragraph or text, right? And they don't tailor-make their resume. It's very generic. And they can tell whether it's a generic resume because one of the key things is they don't address the relevant thing. So let's watch a little short video. I think some of you may have seen this before and may have felt the same problem that this lady is feeling.
Hi, I'm your resume angel. I'm pumped about this. Okay, let's get you a job. Okay, let's take a, okay, all right. First note, booty69@gmail.com is very funny, but let's go with something more appropriate.
Boom! Don't listen to this guy. That email shows them who you are. Everyone likes personality. No one likes a dud, but everyone likes a booty.
Okay, that is absolutely, completely untrue. Also, while we're at it, I noticed you have your high school on here. We all went to high school. You don't need
Resumes need as much information as you possibly can fit onto the page. In fact, where's that sweet GPA? Huh?
Okay, look, you're probably very proud of that 2.85, but let's keep that private.
This is only 2 pages? 2 pages? Let's fill it up. When you worked at the Gap for 2.5 months, when you babysat that hyperactive kid, huh? That charity car wash, put it in there, put it in there.
Maximum 2 pages, cut it there.
10 pages and a photo.
Absolutely, positively no photo.
Use that photo when you're at the hot tub party and have 2 Greek Adonises flanking you.
Okay, look, this is not Tinder, it's a resume.
Swipe left. You're not a fun person.
Now, this is some interesting language. You increase sales a lot.
Here I will agree with him. The phrase should be hell a lot.
No, absolutely not. Something more like 7%.
Yeah, like something like 75%.
Yeah, but that would be a lie.
No, but who cares? What is lie? What is truth? Who are we? Where are we?
Do not lie on your resume.
You are so boring! You know what's not boring? Comic Sans! Get it in there!
No, just get rid of that right now. I'm getting sick just looking at it.
Keep putting it up there. Make him throw up. You ever see an angel vomit? You'll want to watch this.
The worst part is you can't throw up in heaven.
No? So it's just continuous gagging.
And while we're at it, take off Microsoft Word. We all know Word. Even she knows Word.
And next thing you know, you're gonna want to take off the bagpipes.
Oh, that's actually pretty interesting. I think you should keep it in.
So is Comic Sans.
That is not interesting.
Yes,
it is totally outdated.
It shows that I'm whimsical and fun.
No, it shows that you're unprofessional and not ready for a job.
When have you ever had a job?
I didn't have a job. I'm independently wealthy. Ow, Jesus.
You can see the video brought in a lot of things that we're going to discuss about. So it's a very good start. So before you even decide, I'm going to craft a resume, these are the things that you need to consider that will help you do this easier. All right. So before we start to write a resume, you need preparation. Preparation is the key, you will realize, to your job search. The more prepared you are, the better you will be when it comes to job searching, and one of which is preparing your resume. So ask yourself these questions to help you. What role am I targeting? So depending on which part of the career path or career stage you are in, it's always good to self-reflect and say, you know, what role am I targeting? What do I want to do now? Do I want to stay where am I now and get a more senior position? Or is it a time for me to pivot into something that I am considering? So it's always good to know what kind of role am I targeting. Next, besides the role, what kind of companies am I targeting? Once you identify what companies that you want to work for, the next step is to find out what are the challenges they are facing. So you can always find this out, you know, through Mr. Google. You can Google the company and find out what are the things that they are facing, from news articles that come out, from blogs that people write, from their company webpage, from their if they are publicly traded company, from their annual reports. Find out what is it that they are facing, especially relating to the role that you are targeting. And then based on what role you're targeting, what kind of skills are critical to be successful in this role? And most important of all, how do I add value? It's very simple. Hiring manager will not hire you if they feel that you're not going to add value to the position that you're applying for. So once you know what kind of role I want to target, what kind of companies I want to work for, what are the challenges they are facing, and then what are the skills that's critical, then you're going to say, based on all this, how do I add value? Because once on your resume, you show how you can add value to the company via your position, that will attract the attention of the hiring manager. Once you have these answers, the next step is to find out what are the major success story or accomplishment from your previous jobs related to the skills. Now you look at what are the skills do I have? The soft skills, the hard skills, and perhaps their technical skills. So remember, sometimes you may forget where you work for how long. So this is a good time for you to recollect, who did I work for? When did I start working? The job title, my responsibility, and most important, what other achievements that I have. Qualification, such as university degree, certification, licenses, all these things. Once you have these two sets of data, it will help you to organize your thoughts to start writing a resume. All right? Because all this information is very useful so that you can either type it out, some people like to write it out. Once you have these things, you keep this in front of you, then you can start writing the creative part of writing your resume. Right? So before, many of you have asked, what is the ATS? So ATS is what we call, it's actually a bot. It's called an applicants tracking system. So what it does, as we said, because some jobs is like 250, some is even more. So big companies, especially big companies, they need to have a bot, so we say, or software to collect, sort, scan, and rank job applications. Right? So basically, they will scan your resume using this ATS system, and depending on how they program it, to score your resume based on what is being programmed. Right? So almost all the Fortune 500 companies uses some form of ATS. In Singapore context, I would say almost half the companies out there uses ATS, especially in the financial industry. Most of the big banks use some form of ATS. Okay, so ATS typically rejects 50 to 75% of job application, right? So sometimes it's even more, 98%. So having said that, I've seen all kinds of resume. I've seen very colorful, very, very wonderful looking resume. But the key things that you need to know is if you're going to apply for a job where the company uses an ATS, please keep this in mind. These are the things that ATS struggles with, meaning sometimes the ATS, no matter how smart it is unable to read and understand if you have graphs and images. So you may want to plot your every year your turnover, how much money you brought the company, you plot a very nice graph. But ATS cannot read graphs. Okay? Most can't read words in text boxes or tables. So I understand some of you would want to do a Word document, but you do not know how to do the pagination and things like that. So you decide to put text boxes or tables so that it looks nice. Unfortunately, most ATS cannot read words in the text boxes. So whatever you put inside the text boxes or in the table, the ATS cannot scan, and you'll just come up with a 0. That means I cannot read anything. It's a blank piece of paper. Okay. The latest ones may be able to read columns, but why do you want to take the chance, right? So, some of you, as I said, have divide your resume because you wanted to fit that 1 page or the 2-page format. So you divide your resume by columns and you start writing wonderful column kind of resume. But unfortunately, ATS may struggle to read them. So how do you know whether a company is using ATS? Because when you apply on their job portals, you will see things like Workday, Tello, SuccessFactors, BrassRing, and ICIMS. So these are the most common ATS scanners that is out there in the market. So if you were to apply for a role in the banks, and then before you can upload, right, before you could upload the resume, you may find that they will tell you, oh, this is a Teleo, which is a success factor. Then you know that for sure the resume that you're going to submit is going to go through ATS. So you be aware of this. And the thing I didn't mention here is ATS also cannot read things in the headers and footers. So for some of you who likes to put your name and contacts in the header, ATS will not be able to read them. So don't use the headers and the footers of the Word document. And last but not least, ATS cannot read certain kind of font. So I would suggest you use the boring kind of font, like Times New Roman, if that still exists, Aria or Calibri, which is the latest one. So if you use Comic Sans, like what the video say, most of the time ATS cannot read Comic Sans font. Right? So what are the high risks, as we said, I mentioned here? If you omit keywords, then you will fail your ATS. If you put things in your header, ATS cannot read them. Fancy templates, like we said, you put boxes, you put graphs, you put images, cannot get scanned, right? So that doesn't stop you from having a nice resume that you want with all the graphs and everything. Okay, so what we suggest is put a link in your normal traditional resume so that when you capture the attention of the hiring manager, they can always click on that link to go to your personal website perhaps, or go to your personal portal, whereby over there you can showcase, maybe your projects that you've done, or you can showcase the graphs, the analysis that you need. Okay, now you could do that, right? So that's one way for you to exercise your creativity, even though we ask you to submit a so-called very boring looking resume. All right, because this is one way, that's the only way that you want to beat the ATS, because it's no point doing a very, very nice resume and you don't even get passed to a human being, don't even get to see it because it was rejected immediately by the ATS. Okay. I hope I'm not going too fast. If I'm going too fast, should let me know, because I noticed someone put up their hand. Is there anything that you would like to ask?
Yes, Liner. I think SH Lin would like to ask a question. I think she put her hand. Maybe I will unmute.
Yeah.
Hi, SH Lin. Do you have a question for Liner?
Actually, I pressed wrongly, but okay, it's okay.
Right.
I think I'll just ask a question then. Okay, so because there's a few so-called suggestions that we have to do it like conventionally, there are also a few suggestions, right? We have to do it with some infographic. So in this case, does it mean that when we go through ATM system, we don't have the infographic?
Usually, if the company requests you to do these things, they would have made provision that you will be able to submit it separately. Or maybe the company doesn't use ATS. I hope I answered your question, because sometimes you can, if I'm not wrong, some job portals, there's one place for you to upload your resume, and then there's another place for you to upload supporting documents.
Yep.
So I will assume that the resume part, they're going to put you through the ATS, but the other part whereby you put your supporting documents, where you may have to put your graphic representation or infographic, as what you said, and those, then they will not go through the ATS. Right? And then on the topic of ATS, I think Chua Ming Cho said that to ATS, as far as we know, ATS works for PDF file and also work for Word. All right. And it doesn't matter if you write in Word in tables and everything, and then you scan it to a PDF, they still cannot read it. It's just not yet. The technology is not there yet for them to read. And why do you want to take the risk? I mean, is there any reason why you must submit it in a table form? I mean, or a text box form, right? Because you really don't need to. Because
okay, sorry, maybe I want to ask is like ATS, right? But because they have follow according to criteria to scan the CV.
yes,
For example, if the criteria is three years and above, or 3 to 5 years, so does it mean that anyone that come in with 5 years and above will not be selected, or when they have a so-called sets of criteria for the ATS to pick up? So does it mean that whoever don't fall into this category, they will not be picked up? For example, the experience, the years of experience, the qualifications and things like that. Yeah,
that's a possibility. Yes, there's a possibility that if they set the ATS to say anybody with more than X number of years, do not consider. Yes, there is a possibility of doing that.
So in this, there will be a pool of candidates that will always get the selected, but whereas the very experienced or the one that very well qualified might not be picked up by the ATS.
There's a possibility. So what you do is, if you're interested in it, don't put that number down, how many years of experience.
Maybe can I add on here, Lionel? Hi, this is Charlene here, part of the career advisory team. So when we come to talk about ATS system, and in terms of how the HR, the back end, looking at the pool of profiles that we receive, of course, ideally, based on the job description, if it states 5 years, that's a wish list from, or maybe based on past hiring experience of the HR, that is the minimum standard they are looking at. But however, depending on the pool that they're gonna get when they send out this job posting, if within this pool that they send out for this particular role, they get a lot of people who are less than 5 years experience, but they may demonstrate more competencies or keywords in that fits the rest of the description of the job posting. Then the HR will need to review it and see how that could go. So yes, by right, if you look at it very specifically, like how a job description posting criteria is being set, yes, of course, by default, the HR will want to see someone with specifically 5 years experience. But however, what if in the situation where there's not enough candidate from that pool, then if HR really need to find somebody, then maybe they'll look at candidates with a lesser number of year experience, but actually be able to boost up with the work experience or achievements in the resume. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Shirley. It depends on the situation, right? So maybe they set it at 5 years. I don't want to read anything more than 5 years or whatever. And then it turned out that I don't get anything, like ATS failed everybody. Then maybe the HR will reset. Because basically the ATS is to help them narrow down their choices, right? Because as what they say, if they feel that 5 years is the number of years of experience that a person need in order to do the job, yeah, they will put down there as 5 years, and they may put there as a check. But again, as what Charlene say, if for whatever reason, when they post this job and everybody that writes in are 5 years and more, then they realize that, hey, how come I have no candidate? Then they may adjust it. So, you know, it's a situation by situation case. You could see us one-to-one, then we can work things out to find out what's the best way to represent yourself, right? Because this session is more of a not so, you know, it's just in the surface to say, okay, this is what the ATS does and this is what ATS will reject. When we have a more one-to-one session, then we can find out how to get around it. So shall we say, when this kind of thing happens, because there's no one size fit all way to get around it. It just depends on a person by person. All right.
Okay, thanks.
So I'm gonna move on. So first thing that you need to know that in terms of resume format, usually there's 3 kinds, right? And it's, some people call it the chronological, or maybe rather more like a reverse chronological, because you put your recent work experience first. So chronological is something that you see very often. Chronological is something that most people use, or reverse chronological. Then there's another one that we usually come across with what we call the functional or skill-based resume. This type of resume is more concentrating on work function, right, rather than work experience. And then there's what we call the combination, where they use two of the features, perhaps more for people in the mid-career, so that they can use their relevant work experience and also let them know the skills that they have in order to do the job. So as we said, today we're just only going to look at what we call the reverse chronological work experience type of resume. So as we say, we'll look at the headline, we'll look at the career summary, we look at the skills, we look at the work experience, and we look at education certification. Okay, this is not necessarily the way it is going to flow if you want to do your resume, but this is the typical, a typical reverse chronological resume will look something like this. Of course, some people put work experience first before the skills. Some people put education on the top. So it's always a case by case, so that which way best reflect the story that you're going to tell the hiring manager. All right. So the headlines. Headline is what we call, it is a way quickly to impress the hiring manager. Remember, 4 to 6, 8 seconds to impress. So a good headlines is very important for you to tease the hiring manager to want to read more, right? So some people already started doing it when they do their LinkedIn, right? Where they craft a brand statement or a tagline that define who you are, what you do, so that the hiring manager will know, oh, okay, so Lionel is doing this, and this is his experience, this is his skills. Okay, so what you should do, keep it short and sweet. You don't need, this is not the time for you to write a long paragraph about your headline. Headline is what you see in the news. It's just a statement, right? Like the news headline is the same thing. The news headline is a summary of what the whole article is all about. And if you have a good headline, then usually people that skim the newspaper will continue to read. So keep it short, keep it sweet. Okay. Also, in the headline, also include only your essential contact information, and use a professional email address. As what we saw in the video, booty69 or any of those connotation is a big no-no. Okay, so this is you don't really need to include your address, because sometimes we see a lot of people include the address. You really don't need to include your photograph or your date of birth, right? Because all this may cause the hiring manager to unconsciously root you out. They may say, oh, you live so far away from the office, so you're going to be late all the time, so I don't want to talk to you. Or you look at the photograph and say, hey, you remind me of someone I don't like. I don't want to see you every day at work, so I don't want to. Date of birth, speaks for itself. They may think you're too young or too old. So don't include things that is going to give a hiring manager a chance to say, I don't want to see this person. All right. So as for photograph, of course, if you're going to apply for a role that plays a part, then most probably they will ask for a photograph. So if they don't ask for it and you don't see any reason why they should, you don't need to submit that photograph. Okay. So sometimes that's what we see when we see a headline, right? As you say, the email address is cool dude, right? Mobile, home number. Actually, nowadays you don't need to include the home number and an address, right? And then, yes, you need a link, but Facebook is not exactly a good link for you. Okay, so as you see, a good headline is something that quickly summarizes what you do. So you're a growth-oriented relationship manager with 8 years of investment banking experience. Immediately, it says everything really. Some of you may want to include some quantifiable things. So they may want to add behind, 8 years of investment banking experience handling portfolio of X number of dollars. By all means, you could do it if you want. So basically, in that one sentence, it gives the hiring manager an idea on who am I dealing with? Who is it? What is this Liner Tan all about? So you look at this and say, oh, he's growth oriented. So you always think of improving, right? How many years of experience they have, and then in what field they have in their experience. As I said, if you want, you could actually add how much customer net worth you're handling. You may add in how much portfolio you're handling, or you may even add in how much returns that you're making, 20% returns year on year. You could do that because so it gives a complete picture of who you are, and it will attract the hiring manager to say, hey, let me read more. This is who I'm looking for. I'm looking for a growth-oriented manager. I'm looking for someone with that kind of years of experience in this kind of field. Oh, and he's doing so well. Now he's making 20%, or he's handling high net worth client. Yes, this is what we're looking for. So your headline already tell them, read some more. Remember, 4 to 6 seconds, right? 4 to 8 seconds. It's very fast. When they look at it, if you attract their attention, then they will continue reading the next part. So usually the next part is the career summary, but I would like to touch on this thing called rule of 3, right? Because a lot of people ask, how many things should I include? How many bullet points? How many things must I tell? So the rules of 3 is a principle based on how human brain works, right? Like it or not, unconsciously, we recognize patterns, right? If you go shopping, because I'm in retail, I used to be in retail, I know. The way I put my shelf, the way I put my window, is to put it in a pattern that you do not even, subconsciously don't even know. But there's always a pattern. And this pattern is usually the smallest number that people can recognize is 3, right? So if you notice, when people give speeches, they always give 3. I want to highlight 3 things, right? If you listen to comedians, they always have a 3-part joke. They'll tell you the setup, you build your anticipation, and then they tell you the punchline. So this rule of 3 is very powerful, right? So always think of that. Do it in subsets of 3. So if you want to do later on when we touch on the skills part, do it in groups of 3. Later when we touch on the career summary, give 3 points that they can remember. So this rule of 3 is very, very powerful, right? It's something that everybody unconsciously notice this pattern, and it helps them to remember. So even as we jump a little bit further up, if you were to attend our interview workshop, you will find that we also try to make you answer your question in using the rule of 3 so that people can remember what you told them, right? So the last thing, at least you cannot get out of this whole thing, is to remember the rule of 3, all right? So as I said, the next part is the career summary. The purpose of the career summary is to share, right? Share the narrative so that you can have an overview of your entire career, okay? Use it very wisely. When we talk about real estate, this besides the headline, this is the next most expensive place because of the quick way that hiring manager glance at your resume, right? So only put in the most relevant, the most impressive part of your career, okay? And avoid motherhood statements, okay? Motherhood statements will be things like, one we see always a lot is proven track record of doing this, or success-oriented manager. This motherhood statement that don't mean anything, right? So always ask yourself, when I'm going to do my career summary, what is the thing that I want them to know about my career, right? What are the results that I have achieved? Use metrics, meaning use quantitative if you can. If you can't, then use qualitative. Okay, what value do you deliver? Give some examples. Okay, and what area have you had consistent success in? So, even though this, what we mean by motherhood statement is the one above, dedicated with excellent communication skills geared towards building across organization levels. It sounds impressive, but basically it doesn't tell them anything. It doesn't tell them what does the communication do. It builds something, but so, you know what I mean? Basically, you just say that I know how to talk. Basically, you're just telling them that I know how to talk. I know how to make friends. That's it. It doesn't add anything else. Or if you say proven track records in asset management, what is the track record? I don't know. This statement doesn't tell me. Result-driven individual who drives results. So these are what we call motherhood statement. Don't waste the career summary using motherhood statements that actually means nothing to the hiring manager. Okay, so what you could do is, add something of more substance, right? Let them know how many years of experience you have perhaps. Let them know, how much is how are you performing, right? If you say that you are having successful, tell them how much success you have by 10%, increase market by 10%, right? Consisting leading teams, right, to surpass management target. Tell them what is the target, right? 25% year on year. So you can see the top and the bottom, you can see the difference. The first one, the hiring manager will be like, why should I hire you? There's nothing there that excites me. There's nothing there that shows me that you are the right person for the job. But the one below, I can see 200 million, 10%, 25%, right? It gives me a better idea of what you've been doing for the last 8 years. So this is what we mean by a good career summary, right? A good headline and a good career summary will enable the hiring manager to carry on reading the rest of your resume. Okay, many hiring managers stop reading from here on. If you pass the ATS, right, you come to a human to read this. If after reading the headline and reading the career summary, you don't impress them, trust me, they're not going to read your work experience anymore. Because if you cannot describe yourself, if you cannot market yourself in this part of the resume, it shows that it's very difficult for me to believe as a hiring manager that you're going to perform well in the role that I'm advertising for. So if you want to spend a lot of time, I would say spend lots of time on this part of your resume, because this is the key to it. Keep telling yourself, I have only 4 to 8 seconds to impress hiring manager. I need to write something that will capture their imagination, capture their attention, so that they will carry on reading about my work experience, my skills, and my achievements. All right. So skills. Okay. This is the part I'm okay if you want to put it. I'm also okay if you decide not to put it. All right. Because to me, if you want to put skills, make sure that they are really skills, because there are a lot of times whereby hiring manager tell us that when they receive the resume, it's not skill at all. It's talking about the job. It's part of the job. You're just describing what you do, and it's not really a skill. So a skill is actually something that you can learn, which is why they more or less encourage you to use hard skills, because hard skills are things that easily is skill because you have to go to school to learn it, right? So to know a programming language is a skill, right? If you want to learn how to play the piano, it's a skill because you need to go through a certain form of training in order to learn it, right? So sometimes we suggest, and it's only a suggestion, put hard skill first and then put some soft skills, all right? So make sure that when you put your skills, as we talk about the rule of three, make sure they're relevant to the role and make sure that you can group them in threes. So things to do with communication, let's say, group them together, right? So negotiation, leading, communication, put them together. So that it's easy for the hiring manager to remember your skill. Okay, so group your related skill sets together. Okay, so there's hard skills and then there's soft skills. As I said, some people use these things to so-called beat the ATS, because once you list out all these skills based on the job description that's given, chances are very high you will beat the ATS, in the sense the ATS will say, oh yes, all these skills are on the resume. But the disadvantage of putting skills on its own is the hiring manager will need to go and find out, okay, you say you're very good in communicating. I need to go and find out in what part of the work experience you use these skills. And most hiring managers don't have the time to do that, right? So, which is why I'm okay if you put it down. I'm also okay if you don't put it down. So if you don't want to put it down here, then make sure that it appears in your work experience so that they know that, oh, during your time at a company A, you use the following skills, right? The time in company B, you use another set of skills, perhaps, or the same set of skills, right? So that gives context. So to me, skills need to have a context. And it's easier for me if I'm a hiring manager to know at what situation, at what circumstances you exhibit the skills, rather than just throwing the skills out there, right? So that's why I said focus on the hard skill, because it's harder to put hard skills in part of your job work experience. But when it comes to soft skills, usually it's easier for you to just slide it into your work experience part. I leave it up to you. It's fine whether you put it out. Just remember, if you want to put it out, to help people remember, group the related skill sets together, right? So that it gives a more complete picture about yourself. So moving very, 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 very quickly, the next part that we're going to talk about is the work experience. And as I said, this is the part that after you already attract the attention of the hiring manager and they feel that, wow, good headline, understand your career summary, I can know who you are, then my expectation of you will be there. Okay, so now I want to know what is it like? What did you do, right? What did you do when you were assuming the various role in your job? So the purpose of the work experience, as I said, is to elaborate on your current or past job scopes and responsibility. Okay. Little secret: recruiters or hiring manager only usually glance at the first bullet points of each work stint and skip the rest. So if you really, as I said, if you know this, then make sure the first bullet point you're going to use to talk about your work experience, make sure that that is the one that so-called answer what is it who is it they're looking for. Okay, so as we said, direct staff of 30, number is there. Managed equity fund, net worth, again, 88 million. Increased return by 10%. See, this type of first work experience, it already make me want to read some more, because you already let me know you have leadership skill because you direct a staff of 30. You manage a big fund and you always have good returns. So this is what we call a first statement at the work experience that covers in a nutshell what you did while holding this position. So it's quality rather than quantity. Okay. So if possible, always begin each point with an action verb, right? So we all know, like, direct is an action verb, grow is an action verb, So I hope you don't have to go back to primary school to learn what are action verbs. So basically, try to use action verbs because that creates excitement. Okay, again, tailor your job using keywords or phrases from the job description. So if I were to use these words like direct, if I want to use these words like consistently, then probably these are the words that I found on the job description that I will want to use so that when the hiring manager read these work experience, it resonates with them because they are the one who created the job description. So it'll be like, oh, wow, I found the profile that I'm looking for because you're mirroring what they are looking for. Okay, as I said, careful not to make it look like a job description. Okay, we have come across quite a lot of resume that basically just describe what they do, the day-to-day things that they do, the business as usual things that they do. Okay, unless you're a fresh grad, whereby you may not have a lot of achievement or things like that. Okay, maybe you want to write your work experience based on like a job description to let them know, hey, I know how to do the job. I know how to be a relationship manager. I know how to be an investment analyst. I know how to be a credit risk person, right? So you may want to put as job. But if you have years of experience, like this person, 8 years of experience, you don't need to tell me your day-to-day task because I will have the expectation to know that you know. What I will be interested more will be as what you said in the first paragraph, how many people is under you perhaps? How much is your portfolio worth? What is your performance ratio like? So these are the more things that I'm more interested in. Okay, so remember we talk about motherhood statement. So these are the things that we advise you don't put. Demonstrate success in doesn't mean anything. So use words like I achieved, I built something, I created something. Instead of using proven track record of this, just say I delivered. What do you deliver? What do you executed? What do you impact? Or responsible for doesn't help because responsible means you're responsible. But are you responsible as a manager? So you manage. Are you responsible as a leader? So you led, right? So give an action verb that describe what you do, right? Duties included. This is the part whereby people always have to put duties included, responsible for. This doesn't add value to you, right? You must say, okay, what are your duties? I spearhead, I optimize, I skyrocketed. Use exciting words, action verb to impress the hiring manager. Don't use cliche, don't use motherhood statement like excellent communication skills. It doesn't tell me anything. So what is excellent communication skills? Because to you, it could be very excellent. But when I hear you speak, I realize it's not excellent at all, right? So if you have very good communication skills, most probably you are able to influence people. You are able to advise people, or you're able to negotiate. So use the actual word. I influence people, I advise people, or I negotiated, right? So don't use the left-hand side. Such words are just don't make sense. In fact, some hiring managers said these are what we call cringe-worthy words. When they read it, they like the angel in the video. You're like, oh, I feel like vomiting. Because why is everybody writing this thing? Imagine 10 people write the same thing. Or 20 people, you go through 20 resumes and they all write the same thing, proven track record of this. I'm responsible for this. My duties included this. I tell you, the hiring manager will not be in a very, very, very good mood. So when it comes to your work experience, please, please, please don't treat it like a job description page. Don't copy and paste from the job description of the post and then just put it there and say, hey, I do everything that you want me to do. That's not how you impress the hiring manager. Okay, so for example, as you can see, what we mean by job description, almost all these are job description, right? Ad hoc duties assigned. I answer inquiries. I make sure. I handle day-to-day. So these are things that we know a relationship manager needs to do. You don't need to tell me because I know I'm hiring for one. I know these are the things that a relationship manager would need to do. but I'm more interested in things like this. I manage this. Where is my fund? Right? How many clients? How much is my client worth? Right? Even if I want to say I handed day-to-day service, at least you let me know. How do I do it? I tailor product recommendation. I grow their wealth by 20% without compromising on regulatory guideline and company policy and risk. Right? Rule of 3. I have 3 points. Some may say it's a little bit long. I agree. You may want to shorten it. But if you realize these 3 points that I made is the same amount of space that the previous thing. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. This 7 points is the same length as this 3. Okay, so yes, it's a little bit long. You could shorten it if you can, but basically, most important things that you need to include is obviously 30 clients, 200 million, right? The 20%, right? You may want to say compromise on regulatory guideline. Maybe you want to put it in a different sentence. It's just up to you. So basically, how you want to give them a very quick snapshot of what is it that you do. Not everything, the most important thing that you do, things that brings value. So the 3 things over here brings value, right? It adds value to the role of a RM for the company. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. So the next part, some people separate it, right? Put it under a different header as achievement. Some people will put the achievement directly below the word experience. It means they don't name it as achievement, or maybe they do. Again, it's entirely up to you. But the key thing is every role that you have, there must be some sort of achievement. There must be something that you are proud of, something that makes you different from all the other people that is gunning for the same job as you. So some people tell me, Lionel, I really do not know, my job as a compliance person, I really do not know what kind of achievement I can make, right? So if you have problems like this, think about this. How did you make the company more money? How do you, even if it's indirect, how did you do it, right? How do you save the company money, right? Maybe being a good compliance person, you make sure that people, the clients that the company handle are good clients that will not defraud. So that somehow you save the company's money, right? How do you increase productivity? So people that do project management, people that do work improvement. So how do you increase productivity, right? How do you solve a critical problem? Last but not least, how do you lead a large project? So these are 5 ways you could think of that will help you do your achievement parts, to help you think in a mindset on how should I let the hiring manager know what kind of achievement did I do while working for all the different companies that's stated in my resume, right? So how do you write your achievement, right? As we said, same as work experience, always start with an action verb, okay? Give them context, right? So this is the part where you let them know what is it about, what is the problem, what is the issue, right? And if you can, use those jargon that only you and the hiring manager can understand. So it shows that you are part of it, right? Again, most important, achievement without measurable or quantifiable doesn't help. We do not know. Like there are many cases where people put a lot of achievement that they do, but they don't put down what's at the end, what is the result, right? So they could be, I led a large project, but they left out, so what happened? Was the project successful, right? What did the project end up? Did it end up helping the company save lots of money? Did the project increase productivity? It's not stated. So it doesn't help. So to me, it could be you lead many projects, but all your project fails. You know what I mean? So this is how you should frame your achievement. a very simple formula basically is this: I accomplish X measured by Y by doing Z. So if your achievement comes in this form, you sort of satisfied the point 1, 2, and 3, right? So accomplish is what did you do? What is it that you do at your company? And how do you know it was successful? Because it's measured by dollars, percentage, or ratio, or anything. And by doing what? So by doing what is the part where you can also include those skills. Remember, we talked about the skills section. This is the part where you may want to say, oh, by negotiating a better deal, or by leading the team into by winning, right? By leading the team into a winning situation, things like that. So always remember, these are the 3 things that hiring managers look for when it comes to achievement. What do you accomplish? What is it measured by? And what did you do? I hope this is clear, because I got a feeling I'm talking very fast. But later on, there will be a Q&A session. So if anything that you need to refresh back, just let us know. And whatever the time permit, we'll try to answer those questions, all right? We again demonstrated success in existing business with existing customers, right? Proven track record since first year of joining AAA Bank in 2009. So this, again, this achievement doesn't tell me anything, right? So this is what we're talking about: grow, action verb, grow what? Grow the business, right? By how much? 25% clientele base, increase existing portfolio, or achieve sales target, right? But not only achieve during this time is the slowest growth. So despite the economy not doing well, I managed to achieve this. So this is what we call give the context of your achievement so that it looks better. So when they read it, like, yeah, this is the financial crisis time, and yet he can do so much. Right? So this is what we call about putting down achievements that means something. Achievement that give the wow, right? So what we're talking about so far is the same. Your headline need to give the wow. People like wow. And they read your career summary, must be wow, wow, right? And then if you want to put the skills, they must say, oh, wow, he knows the latest programming language. Oh, he knows the latest management style, or whatever that you want to put it down. That's relevant to the job. Most important, your skills must be relevant to the role. I cannot emphasize enough. Your skills must be relevant to the role that you're applying for. And then after that, if they very much impressed, the work experience, more wows, because you really tell them who you, at each role in your career, what you have achieved, what you have done. So as I said, the work experience and achievements, some people put it together under one each position. Some people separate them in the sense that they put the achievement first. Some people put achievement first. Again, it's really, really up to the situation, right? There's no right, there's no wrong. So if you feel that your achievement is going to capture the attention, there's nothing wrong in putting your achievement right after your career summary. Nothing wrong. As I said, this is just one way of putting the different section of your resume for you. So there's no fix, right? Just remember, the resume is actually very, very fluid. It is a marketing tool. It's something used by you to market yourself, to sell your brand. That's why we always say resume must be custom made. Resume must be tailor made. That's what we mean. So this part, there's nothing much to say. Make sure that it's simple, right? Don't need to put a lot of things, unless, as I said, if you're a fresh grad, you may want to put more information, right? You may want to actually put down, some fresh grad actually put down, okay, when I took my MBA in finance, what are the topics that I was good in, right? So for fresh grad, it's okay for you to decide to expand a little bit more, to let them know what are the subject that you handle, or perhaps what kind of projects that you have done. So for fresh grad, it's okay. But if you've been graduated for quite some time, keep it simple. Just put it there. Okay, this is my degree. If you have a good result, put it there, and then the year that you got it, right? So this part is usually the last part of your resume. Some people will put one more section, which is what perhaps it'll be hobbies or things that's not related. I am okay if you put it, if you still have space, by all means put it there to let them know you're a well-rounded person, right? Maybe you know how to play the piano perhaps, or maybe you know how to play the harp or something that is unique. Go ahead, if you feel that there's space, if you feel that this will add value, as you said, whatever you put on the resume, it must add value to the company. If it doesn't add value, then they are not interested. So some people, after this education certification or education qualification, they do add something else. Okay, and some of you may say, oh, how about references? Well, to me, you really don't need to give references until they decide to hire you, right? So there's no need for you to put down your references on your resume if the decision hasn't been made. For sure, if they want to hire you, they may ask you later on during your interview for your references. Then you give it to them, right? So one of the reason, very simple reason why you don't want to put your references now is, depending on who you put, they may decide, hey, your references is a better fit than you. So they may decide to call your references and say, hey, do you want to work for us? Then you lost that opportunity. So references don't really need to put it at this stage, right? So this is the actual job description that I just pulled from one of the job site. You don't need to read it. And basically, I just want to let you know two things, right? My career summary that I built up is going to answer all the things that the job requirement is doing. So they say, I need 5 years. I tell them I have 8, because it's minimum 5, right? So I say I have 8, right? They want someone who can handle high net worth. I tell them I handle ultra high net worth client. And I give them a number to let them know how much, 200 million USD, right? They say they want to have someone acquisition success, right? I let them know I have success in acquiring and growing, right? And I let them know I increase the market by 10%. Last, they say, oh, I want a RM that's able to lead. So I tell them consistent lead teams to be successful, 25% year on year. So you can see my career summary is already there to satisfy the job requirement. So when the hiring manager read my career summary, they'll be like, hey, this is the person we're looking for, because it's there at the job requirement, right? So basically, the job description is your answer sheet. To do a resume, the answer is there, right? You just have to make sure that you include all those things that they're looking for in your resume. And please don't lie. So whatever that's in right now in the career summary for this person is true. Really have 8 years, really handle 200 million, really increased by 10%, but things like that. So just because I want, we say, oh, try to fit the job description, doesn't mean that you lie, right? Never, never, never lie on your resume. Okay, so in the job experience, it's the same thing, right? I make sure everything that they talk about, I am there, right? Gather market insight, I have market insight, right? Interest of the client, I have interest of the client, right? Ensure that everything is under regulatory. I also tell them everything that I do is under regulatory. So if you have such a resume that resonates like this, the chances of you winning the interview is a lot higher than if you were to just do a resume that is generic or a resume that sounds like a job description, or a resume that doesn't tell us anything about yourself, doesn't show us how successful you are, doesn't describe you. I do not know who you are because all I see is copy and paste on my job description. I don't know who you are, right? So again, the headline, career summary, introduce who you are, and then the rest, accomplishment and the work and the skill, close everything. So when they finish reading your resume, they cannot help but be impressed that you are the candidate that they are looking for, because you are using their job description, their job requirement as a mirror onto your resume. Okay, so quickly, I'm just going to go very fast because of time. So if you don't have work experience, what must you do for your resume? Okay, so for people that know work experience, as we say, one of the format that you could think of is using a functional resume, whereby it concentrates on your skills and your uniqueness, your strength. Okay, so you may not use a career summary because your career summary may not be able to capture the essence of what they want. So what you do is what we call a career or resume objective. That is a little bit shorter, could be only one sentence, can look like a headline. So it's not like the other version whereby you have 3 points because you have not much work experience. So more or less, it lets them know what you hope to accomplish in the role that you're going to take. Okay, so if you have any internship, if you have any projects that you do, you can include there, right? Make sure that there is some form of skills whereby you use while doing these things that is applicable to the role that you're going to attend. So for example, if you volunteer to do budgeting for a non-profit company and you're applying for a job that does budget, you can mention that. So this is part of your so-called work experience. Okay, so if you have nothing to highlight, then you highlight your educational achievement. If you win anything. So this will be what we call how you could impress the hiring manager if you don't have much work experience. The other case that you might have is maybe you're thinking about a career change, right? So mid-career switcher. So first thing you need to do is very carefully read your job description and then compare what they want with what you have, because this is what they want to see, which is why, remember, in the beginning, we talked about doing the preparation. Yeah, so if you are mid-career switcher, this is the preparation that you really need to do. Okay, so you want what we call find transferable skills to highlight from your previous work experience that is relevant to the new job. Show the hiring manager you have what it takes to transit from one field to another seamlessly. Show the hiring manager your unique selling proposition. So for those of you who wants to switch into something, or perhaps right now want to come into a finance industry, we can help you as career coaches. You can come to see us on a one-to-one basis. We'll help you, to discover what are the transferable skills that you might have, what are the relevant knowledge or experience that you have, so that your resume will now be more of a career change kind of resume to highlight different sets of knowledge, different sets of skills, so that the hiring manager will consider you even if you don't have the same kind of experience as somebody that's been doing the same job. So for mid-career switcher, this is how you can adjust your resume to attract the attention of the hiring manager. As I said, this is very surface. We need time to work together with you in order to produce such a resume. So for some of you have employment gaps, maybe you need time off to take care of somebody in the family. Maybe you decide to take a sabbatical because you are stressed out. Okay, don't worry, okay, because right now is at this junction, and the pandemic helps it. It's no longer worry about, oh, I have employment gap. Okay, so consider writing a cover letter to address the gap. Okay, write a cover letter to explain to them why you have a gap. Okay, and most important, you need to explain. You don't need to go deep into details as to what happened. Tell them why you need to have a gap, and everything is okay now. Whatever that caused you to take the gap has been solved, problem resolved, and you are ready to contribute again. Okay, so there is, remember the third format, the reverse chronological, functional or skill-based. The third kind of format, the combination. Combination will be good for people with employment gap, right? Because then it can highlight some of the work experience they have and what are the skills that they have picked up while not working or while working. So the gap will not be so noticeable, right? So if you are doing something while in between jobs, if you pick up any special skills, pick up any knowledge, you can put on the resume, all right? But make sure, again, it has to be relevant to what you are applying for, okay? And if you pick up any courses to show that you are upskilling yourself, by all means, even if it's online courses on LinkedIn or anything, let them know that while you were taking a break, you are not away from what's happening. That's the most important, because the hiring manager will want to know, okay, so-and-so has to, for whatever reason, needs to be away for 2-3 years or how many years. But during that time, you know, this person is not really away from everything. He still has some, he or she is still in touch with certain aspect of the job. Okay, so as I said, these are the 3 typical scenarios some of you are having now. And if you need help in crafting a resume to address all this, I'm going to flash the email address later, and then you could then write in to ask for an appointment. And I'm sure my colleagues or even myself, if you happen to be asked, we will be more than willing to help you to craft that resume that will win you interviews. So in closing, okay, think of what resume format you want to use based on your situation, right? So make sure that your information is up to date, right? Make sure you have a professional email address. Again, make sure that you tailor your resume to the job. Okay? Feature your top skills, your experience, right? Writing work experience instead of daily responsibility. Okay, as I said, they are not interested in your day-to-day what you do, right? I've come across resumes that say, oh, I fax things. Well, then you know how I, right? You know, I email clients. I collect this. I mean, these doesn't help. Okay, so as I said, if you're a fresh grad, okay, maybe you will need to do it because you don't have much achievement. But if you are a seasoned person, even if you're a mid-career switcher, you should concentrate more on your work achievement rather than what you do, right? Include keywords, right, and phrases throughout your resume. And where do you find this? At the job description of the job posting. Okay, highlight the right skills in the skills section. Most important, please proofread your resume to make sure there are no typos. Okay, believe me, we still see typos in resumes that we receive. Okay, so as I said, this is the end of the time that I have. I took a little bit longer than I anticipated. So this is the email address that you could write in to request to see a career coach or career advisor to help you, be it in your resume, help you in your job search, help you in your interview, or perhaps give you tips on how to do networking. Basically, the Fantastic Four that was mentioned in earlier on, we will help you to move you closer to the job that you want. So how much time do I have left? I have about 10 minutes. So let me take a look.
Hi, Lionel. Yeah, there's a question here. Let me.
Don't mind me,
read
I'm
out
going to
to
drink
you.
something while you.
Sure,
while
no
Ellen is
problem. Yes. Referring to the before we start slide, how else can we find out about what challenges the company is facing besides the scope presented in the job description? So I guess,
that calls for you to be really, really good at using Google search. Seriously, there are classes that teach you how to do the search engine thing. Unfortunately, Simon, I won't say unfortunately, it's more fortunately you have this thing called Google search. So you need to type in special keywords that's related, and hopefully it will come out. So the first place that you can think of before Google will be LinkedIn too. So you can always go to the company's LinkedIn page to learn. As I said, you can also take a look at if they are a public listed company, they will have an annual report. So the annual report also will let you know the vision of the company, or what is the thing that the company is being faced right now. The challenges are usually there too. All right.
Okay. Okay. The next question here would be, my career path is fragmented and hence can be a rather long and lengthy resume. I'm not able to keep to 2 to 3 pages CV. The question is, should I list out all my previous jobs or just the last 5 companies?
That's a very excellent question. Okay, beside relevancy, the next thing that the hiring manager look for is actually recency, meaning they look at recently what you do, right? The benchmark is about 10 years, some 15 years. So anything that is more than 10 years, usually they will not be interested, okay? Unless you did something fantastic, you did something that is earth-shattering, so you may want to mention it. But if it's just perhaps 15 years ago, you're in a more junior position that is not going to help you add value to your role, what some people would do is they'll put under this special header called career, previous job history, and then they just lump them all together. So all they will see is from what year to what year I'm at company A, my position is this. From what year to what year I'm at company B, my position is that. So if you really, really want to put every so-called work sting that you did, that's one way for you to so-called keep it to 1 to 2 pages, right?
Okay, good. Okay. Then I think that's about all. Okay, yeah, there's one more question here. How to write in application for various job positions in the same company? As in, there are a few opportunities that one is keen on, but the position can be different and varied, but under the same company or bank. Is there a rule of thumb on such situation?
Okay, before I answer this question, Alisa, can you put up the poll so that we can get information, a good feedback from our participant? So, ladies and gentlemen, while I'm going to answer this question, we much appreciate that you can help us to know how this webinar is for you, right? So, because we want to plan better ones for you, and we really want to look forward to more interactive ways. This is like more one way. Although right now I'm answering your question, is still very one way. So we would like to be able to have better workshop whereby you get to be much more participative of it. Okay, so there is no rule of thumb, or there's not. It's especially based on it's okay. All right, if you want to apply for 2 or 3 different positions in the same company, there's nothing wrong with it. However, as we said, each resume needs to be tailor-fit to the role. If the roles are similar, then it's not really a problem because, for example, let's say a compliance role and an internal audit. They're almost the same, almost the same type of skills, use the same kind of experience. So you could do that, because then your resume, even though the hiring manager may see 2 different resumes, but at least to them it's like, oh, it's similar, right? Because you're using similar skills, similar ideas, right? But if you're going to apply for something that is on extreme ends, right? I mean, just for example, let's say sales and computer programming, then it's a little bit more difficult to, how do we say, brand yourself. So how, because they require different sets of skills, right? A salesperson likes to see people, like to talk to people, like to communicate with people. A computer programmer likes to sit in a room, facing the computer 9 to 5, just do their things. So it's very hard to reconcile these two different. So, and then the hiring manager will most probably think you do not know what you want, because you're looking for a job in two extreme ends of the spectrum, right? So I think this is how, in a way, how I answered your question. So there's no rule of thumb. I mean, use your own judgment. If it's fine if you're going to apply for different roles, maybe even in the same department, that's fine, because you're doing almost the same thing. So your resume still market you as this person. But if you're going to apply for roles on extreme ends in a company, then I will caution you not to do it, because then it's very difficult to reconcile the fact that you're looking at two extreme ends of the job skills or job knowledge spectrum.
Okay. Okay. Good. Thanks, Lionel. And maybe we take one last question.
All right.
All right. Okay. Okay. So the question is it okay if you add your part-time work in the resume of and also your past job experience that is relevant to the job opportunity? Would it be a double-edged sword?
Very, very good. I would say it's a case by case depending on the company. All right. So the question you always need to ask when you put things on your resume is, will what I put most probably help me or make it biased against me, right? So as I mentioned before, currently, depending on the situation, it's okay to have part-time jobs, right? Because you may be taking up part-time jobs in order for you to make ends meet, right? Because you need to pay your financial obligation, right? But if the part-time job has relevant skills, has relevant knowledge or relevant things to the job that you're applying, yeah, by all means, put it there. But if no, for example, I'm just not looking down on sales, retail assistant. For example, you become a retail assistant and while doing that, and you are doing something else, you may want to put it there, but again, you can put it not as part of your main work experience, but you can put it in another section where you put there your part-time, if you don't want to appear that you have gaps in your employment. I hope that answers your question.
All right. Yes. Arafin said thank you to that question. All right. Yes, we have no more questions, Lionel.
Okay.
And thank you everyone. And if you'd like to see a career advisor, you can connect with us at the email address, write to us, and then we will get back in 3 working days to guide you step by step how to to book an appointment with a career advisor.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys for taking the survey. Thank you guys for turning up for this. I really enjoyed it because it's close to my heart. So I wish you all the best in able to come up with a winning resume to get you interviews and eventually land you the jobs that you want. And that's what Ellen say. If you need further help, just write in using the email address that's there. And then our colleagues will arrange a session with one of the career advisor who will be more than happy to help you. As I said, help you in your job search, be it in resume, interview, or any aspect that you need help in. Okay, so thank you very much. Hope to see you guys in the next session.